We've been through 15 months, plus or minus, of really changed work environment. But our work environment was already changing. COVID accelerated this shift, but it did not initiate the shift. Today, we have a panel from DBI Architects and Cushman & Wakefield, who are long-time experts in this field. They didn't just start thinking about this with COVID. They've been analyzing the situation, helping clients and supporting this decision-making for years. And they're going to share a lot of that information with us today. So at this point, I would like, please, to introduce Adrian Conforti, who's going to talk to us about coming back to a different office than the one we left. We've really had to review work life in the last year, particularly, but those trends were already accelerating. From your seat, what are you seeing as key drivers as we go back to the office?
Thanks, Joanna, and great to be here with this really talented team. I've spent the last 12 months or so really focused on our company's workplace recovery and readiness program. So have a lot of unique experience working with investors and occupiers on this topic. You know, from my perspective, resilience is the key word for the industry right now. The companies that grow and prosper are really going to be the companies that adopt new technology to out-innovate their competitors. Those that see occupant health as a means for thinking better, faster, smarter, that's a key segment of the wellness market. And so I think, you know, personalized wellness programs that really rely on employee data will be the future. You've heard of WELL and FitWell, that are two measurement standards. Both are based on research. They take into account factors such as access to green space and natural lighting and the use of non-toxic building materials. The WELL standards considered slightly more high-end. The FitWell program considered simpler and more cost-effective. So, you know, we've seen the coronavirus really serving as a catalyst for health and wellness building. There's a merger happening between health sciences and building sciences, and the medical community is really studying the correlation between indoor factors like air and water quality, acoustics, on a person's respiratory, cardiovascular, and immune response. So I'm increasingly seeing occupiers and landlords focus on these certifications, largely focusing on health and productivity as the #1 consideration for their employees coming back to the office. And I know that Robin is a studious, well-accredited professional. She definitely has a perspective on this. Robin, what are your thoughts?
Well, Adrian, you hit the nail on the head. You know, COVID definitely pushed the fast forward button on the wellness aspect, but we were focusing on that before. I think the Well Building Institute really has done a great job. They've kept their finger on the pulse of client and tenant needs and people's experiences within the building, and providing opportunities for us to build the health and the experience for each individual person.
Adrian, the other trend that we're hearing so much about is flexibility, and the word agile keeps coming up. Can you unpack that for us a little bit, and perhaps particularly how Cushman & Wakefield is really leading the charge in some of the research here?
Absolutely, Joanna. So, you know, we've heard a lot of these terms: activity-based working, agile-based working. Really what it means is letting go of the traditional office space and embracing a completely different paradigm. It starts by viewing work as a dynamic set of activities instead of working at a fixed location. From there, it's ensuring you have the right space, policies, technology to support this new way of working. You know, 10 years ago, we were looking at, you know, utilization and location-based design. And today this is moving around the experience. We gathered a lot of information globally at Cushman, 3 million data points, 100,000 people in the survey. And what we found was interesting. We found that younger generations actually struggle more working from home. People don't feel as well working from home. They don't have a sense of well-being, and many struggle to connect to company culture. So, but the majority of those that were surveyed, they really want a balance, and they want to be able to have distributed work policy that's incorporated into a working philosophy. So considering that as much as 60% of a traditional office is unused at any given day, agile work provides the means for an organization to really optimize their workplace, maybe even reduce lease costs, often as much as 20%. So an example of this, Cushman is drinking the Kool-Aid, okay? We are planning our DC offices downtown, consolidating from 2 floors into 1. It really will be an agile-based working philosophy, using technology to reserve spaces. But we have the philosophy that if our employees are going to be in the office 3 or 4 days a week, they will have a regular neighborhood or even a regular office and workstation. Really, the idea is using technology to connect us, access conferencing spaces and social spaces, really having a connected experience in our space where employees, visitors, and clients get the same experience throughout the day. Robin, so what kind of philosophies were you guys really clued in on at 4501? I mean, it's an awesome experience. I've walked through it. What could you tell us about incorporating some of that, activity-based working model in your design?
Sure. So I guess what we started with is we wanted to talk about and implement into the design the experience, as you noted. As soon as you step off the elevator into the lobby, you're greeted with a warm, welcoming, large green walls, some connection to nature. As you check in at the security desk, if you're a guest, or as you walk in to start your day to come work here on the 3rd floor spec suites. So we really wanted to start with what's our first experience there and then bring it up here. I think it was really amazing. Last week we did a run through here on the suite, and what really warmed my heart is when Joanna came in and I could just see this sigh as soon as she walked off the elevator. So, this place has a great vibe. We've curated to have different activity-based spaces in a town hall setting. We've got 3 conference rooms. One's located here behind me where Paige is sitting. That's more of our formal, dressier conference room. We have one that Matt is in. That's more of the internal, kind of heads down, crank out the work. And then we have this really awesome active conference room. It's a standing height table. Actually, I have my computer perched on it now. Really fun, vibrant graphics behind us just to build some energy. And then we have a couple little small rooms that you don't see behind us, but we have like small 1 to 2 person meeting spaces, some quiet head down space. So what we brought to this town hall concept with the spec suites is we wanted to give equity and design to each of the tenants coming here and allow them to share the experience without taking a larger footprint.
Robin, don't forget, you're promoting the idea that companies really want to recruit and retain their talent. This is a talent war, right? And so building a collaborative culture produces better ideas, employee satisfaction, increases productivity. These are all proven studies. So I'm really happy that this team excelled in really incorporating AWS practice into that design. And I think you're going to see a lot more of this to come, guys. I mean, it's here to stay. In fact, Australia, Europe, they've been incorporating these type of concepts for a decade now. So I look forward to the experience with our own offices and invite you all to join us in March of 22. Hopefully.
It's been a strange year where it seemed like we were going to be home for 3 weeks. Then it seemed like we were going to be home forever. And now we're going back, and we're going back fast. So some of the questions we've had ahead of time have been about the role of spec suites as opposed to more traditional leases in this return to the office. Turning to our panel, Paige and Robin, how are you seeing the specifics around 4501 really appeal to people as they come back into the workforce? How's the spec suite piece playing into this?
I think the spec suite is really playing into this because you build in this natural flexibility because you're planning for the unknown. So we're building space that can be flexible for anyone to come in. Specifically for 48501, we've done 6 spec suites. Matt mentioned they range from 2,600 to maybe 6,300 square feet. That allowed us to be nimble in how we planned it, to be able to open up between 2 spaces and combine and really even hit like an 11,000 square foot space.
Yeah, that was kind of the same thing I was going to touch on as well, is that when you notice on that floor plan that we had earlier on in our presentation, you'll kind of notice the strategic placing of where our office line is, where our open area is, even where we've placed our kitchenettes. So ultimately just being flexible for those smaller users who maybe even in a couple of years want to shred up that lease and move into some bigger, better space within the same floor if there's availability, that's an option here. And that's ultimately what we wanted to create, is just flexibility throughout for any size tenant that wants to be in quick, have their space up and running, and just be a nice place to come to.
Joanna, you didn't ask me to answer, but I'm going to jump in real quick. I think you slap my hand later. I think the other big piece is the amount of groups, the size of groups that are looking for space that's ready to go. It used to be, I'm coming out of a WeWork, I'm a startup, I need 2,000 feet tomorrow for 12 months, and that would provide that opportunity. Now it's, I'm 10,000 feet. I don't know what I'm going to need next month or in 3 years. I need something that's built out and ready to go. I think the accidental plus in that is that we're competing with sublease space now. So I saw in the chats about space coming back and tenants that don't need a space are becoming more efficient, or they're consolidating, whatever the case may be. And it'll take a little while to get through that. And we track those subleases and that square footage too. So again, another report that Joanna mentioned that we'd be happy to share with you. But when you're leasing from Manulife here with a spec suite that's built out, ready to go, they need to be a little more flexible on term, but you know what you're getting into, as opposed to subleasing a piece of space from a company that may or may not be around in 3 to 6 months.
In a desirable space, what are the hottest post-COVID amenities? Anyone on the panel, what are you looking for? What are tenants looking for?
I think they're looking for variety of spaces to curate their workday. The days of sitting at your desk for 8 to 12 hours, they're done. They're not practical. We don't work that way. We don't want to work that way. So building this kind of environment, I think, helps bring that to everyone and give them access.
And I will just kind of add on to that as well, is, in the time that we were home during the shutdown about a year ago, all I wanted to do when I was home was just kind of, after I sat at my desk for a couple of hours, I just wanted to get up and kind of walk around and do a little bit of something. So now, at least with what we have here at 4501, you don't just have to go into the same conference room every single time you want to get away from your desk. You now can go into the lounge area or your own quiet room, or another kind of conference area. Since we have 3 here, you get to choose, which is really cool. So I think it just allows for, any kind of emotion or feel that you have for the day or for your new, work environment. It's just a great place to kind of break away. And I think, to Robin's point as well, all of these are kind of in people's wheelhouse and are popular now.
I think quickly, Joanna, you need to have the option to go outside. And that was one of the things we started with. I think those spaces are going to continue to be popular regardless of the pandemic's future. So the opportunity to go meet outside, or whether it's walk to the Metro or walk to Boston Quarter or Phil's Coffee, those are all options too during the day to kind of give you the variety.
Pre-COVID, we were in the world of foosball tables and ping pong and all that type of thing. Where are we finding fun now? We're very focused on efficiency and we've been really focused on tech. But as we come back together, what's bringing us into those shared spaces? What are some of the trends you're seeing? And is it still that internal communal space or is it something else?
I'd say there's still a lot of need for that communal space. What we've learned, we can only do so much electronically and over Zoom. We really have missed being together the last 15 months. With, the CDC's announcement this past week, we are safe to come back together. And I think this space is going to help people get that connection that we've been craving.
I mean, again, I keep coming back to it's just the diversity and the flexibility and having the option, because one day, I'll put it in my personal perspective, I need to catch up with Paige on something, whether it's this. The next day, I've got to meet with my team at 12 to go through what's happening somewhere else. So I think the flexibility to be able to do that while you're walking to coffee or sitting out back or in one of these 4 separate rooms. And a lot of times it's work, but it's not with the people in your office, and you feel better meeting with somebody else and you feel like getting up and moving around like Paige mentioned before. So I think it's just that flexibility inside and outside to move. And again, having the building amenities, which Manulife has here, for a conference room downstairs, but also full fitness, full locker, showers, towels, if that's how you want to break up your day or end it or start it, it's there and available.
Yeah, and I think that's just been the main driver, honestly, to 4501 and that uptick in activities. Like Matt mentioned earlier, we're right at the corner of Fairfax and Glebe, just a block away from getting onto 66. So in terms of location and getting in and out of the Arlington area, we're really great for that. But we are 2 blocks away from the main Ballston Quarter area where a lot of other buildings sit. We realized that, and we ultimately did this to help capitalize on it, which is why we've had such a draw to our space. I think our space is extremely unique in that not a lot of other buildings have actually gone to this extent to put this much thought and kind of design for flexibility into their space. And just to Matt's point as well, it just allows for different areas for people to break out and has really been a huge draw.
The technology's done a wonderful job of supporting us, but there is absolutely no substitute for the banter, the choice, the flexibility that's going to draw us back into these fabulous commercial real estate spaces, that's going to help us to recruit the best people, retain the best people, and win a competitive advantage over our competition. Whether that competition is individual or shared, we need to get back to the office.